wanted to be a director. I wanted to be a movie director, but I wanted to write my own story. I wanted to be a storyteller. I wanted to write my own screenplays and direct my own films. So I wrote screenplays and stuff when I was younger, and they never went anywhere. But what they did is they got me a job in television, and so I ended up having a 20-year career in television. And TV is brilliant, but generally it's quite a small canvas. I mean, I wasn't doing dramas, I was doing documentaries and comedies and all sorts of things. And as a writer, I always kind of like had this kind of building pressure of thinking I want to write something, I want to do something, and I want to tell a big story, because the films I liked were the big blockbusters with the epic scale, the Bond movies with multiple locations. And the TV I was making was not that. And I was a year shy of my 40th birthday. And so probably that has something to do with it. So I was having the midlife crisis thing. And I always say that I said to my wife, either I'm going to have a midlife crisis, so either I need to buy a fast car and probably have an affair, or I quit my job and you let me try and write a book. And we decided to go and live in France for 7 months. And I knew I wanted to write a thriller because I love thrillers. I love the way they work and I kind of understand them, and they're commercial. So if I was going to have a go at sort of becoming a full-time writer, I wanted to write something commercial. The two ideas I had were not religious at all. The ones I had when I was preparing to leave my job, they were just sort of ordinary man thrown into extraordinary circumstances. You know, a real kind of Harlan Coben-esque, Hitchcock-esque sort of standard modern thriller. Partly because I thought that's closer to my own experience and I won't have to research anything, so it will be quicker to write the story. And it was only seeing this cathedral and thing and having this idea that suddenly suggested, and it was a better idea, and I just thought this is a better idea. And at the time I hadn't even read Dan Brown, and the whole Da Vinci Code thing was sort of happening, the whole phenomenon. And it was just the best idea. I didn't even think about, oh well, I'm writing a Dan Brown book. I started writing it, and I was about halfway through, and I suddenly panicked and thought, what if I'm writing exactly that story, the Da Vinci Code? So I read it, really, panic. And page 1, of course, is monks. There's a killer monk, and I'm like, oh Jesus. What a waste of time. And I started reading it, and then I was like, no, that's fine, that's different, no, and then the more I read it, the more I thought, actually, no, I'm writing a completely different book, it's fine. And of course, more of when it came out, people were like, oh, did you just read Dan Brown and think, oh, I'll have some of that? But more of an inspiration, a much more direct influence, a direct influence in a way that the Dan Brown book wasn't at all, is The Name of the Rose, in the Umberto Eco book. Mm-hmm. It's set in a monastery with a mystery, with all this kind of stuff going on, with this very Gothic architecture, literal and figurative, and the kind of those kind of themes of good and evil and knowledge and forbidden knowledge and all that kind of stuff that's embedded in the library. You have to. I base things as much as possible on in truth, and I do a lot of research as well, going to places, and not necessarily that I'm going to set something specifically there, but there might be something there, a door or a piece of history or a name even that you kind of collect. Writers are like magpies. We go around stealing things the whole time, and you never know when you're going to need them, but you just can put them in your bag for later. It was a deliberate attempt, to write something new to keep myself fresh, because you want to write something you don't want to rewrite the same book every time. You want to try new things, because if I'm interested, then the reader's going to be interested, I hope. But also it was a way of shaking it up and not just writing the same story 3 times. And I love FBI investigations. Silence of the Lambs is one of my favourite books. I think it's the blueprint of the perfect modern thriller. And so I think that's in my DNA, and I probably wanted to have a go at one. I wanted to have people called Agent something running around and doing stuff. And now I've done it. Very, very loosely based on the 10 Commandments. And so it could be 10 books, and it's largely about a guy who doesn't know who he is, who has to save 10 souls in order to save his own. And so each book takes one of the 10 Commandments and and has thematically lots of things to do with that commandment, and he has to save someone within it, and by doing so he will learn something about himself. You know, my ideal would see this trilogy, the Sanctus trilogy, turned into a TV series, because I think it would lend itself more to the TV medium than a movie. Because with a movie, you know, it's 2 hours long, and a script and a page. It's normally a page of script per minute of screen time, so that's 120 pages, and the books are all 400 or 500 pages long. So you'd have to cram a lot. You'd lose a lot, and that's what happened.